I love that. I guess we are live somewhere. Let's see if we're on Facebook.
So you can give yourself a few seconds if you need to.
Yeah, I'm also just see where we're live.
Okay, because are you? Oh.
Yes, we are live. Let's just talk as if we are live. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are in the world today. In fact, in the comments, you can see your comments. So drop in where you are. If you're in Grenada, the UK, the US, we would love to know. Someone can't hear me. Danielle can't hear me.
I can hear you very well, sorry.
You can. Okay,
yeah.
Great. And others can hear me. Okay, great. So just to introduce you all, it's International Women's Day, and here at Grenada Creates, we wanted to celebrate women across the diaspora. And what better way to do it than discussing the topic of beauty? So for this reason, we brought together a panel of fantastic Grenadian makeup artists, some in Grenada itself, others in the US, and some in the UK, to talk particularly about how their journeys have affected them, but also the really interesting topic of beauty itself, because it means so many different things to different women. So why not start off this conversation talking about this very topic? Kicking off the conversation this afternoon, this evening, we have Chanel and Akima, who are both two beautiful women from Victoria. So I'll hand over to them and let them get the conversation started.
Okay, thank you very much, Zoe. And Zoe is much too modest. I'll take the opportunity to say thank you to her for getting this platform together. What is it? Grenada Creates. It's a way to connect us all across diaspora, to connect creatives. And I'm passionate about the creative industry because I think it's truly one of the drivers of growth in the new economy, the new post-COVID economy. We can't be doing things in the same way as we have. And I'm very proud of what my sisters, all of the ladies on this panel, I consider them my sisters, have managed to achieve in their respective careers. And what better day than to celebrate all of the ladies and to celebrate the progress that they've made. So I am personally not in the beauty industry, but it's something that affects every woman in every facet of her life. You know, you're a professional woman, but when you walk into the door, the first thing everyone looks at is how you look, how you present yourself. And I should start off this conversation by saying we cannot possibly hope to touch on the multifaceted, skincare, all of it. We can't talk about all of it. So we're going to talk about what we're best at talking about with the experts, and I consider them all experts that we have here, and it should make for a very interesting conversation. And given the recent explosion in makeup artistry, it seemed very appropriate and apropos to have one of our sisters of the soil, an accredited makeup artist, you know as Hey Nelly, I know as Chanel. And we'll just have a short, I'll just tell you how the afternoon, evening is going to play out. We're going to have a short one-on-one about beauty, its value, what it means. Then I'm going to open up the floor to a few questions. And then we're going to have a panel discussion with HD Lady, who's waiting in the wings, and Danielle Alicia. So that's how the evening will be shaped out. And I'm going to introduce Hey Nelly. It gives me great pleasure to have you here. As I keep saying, and I've said before, we're not just from the same country or the same town or the same village. We're from the same street and the same yard. And I am very proud to have you on. You are phenomenal. For people who don't know Chanel or Nelly, as we put it, She's a makeup artist, she's a beauty expert, she's a content creator, she's a creative, and her vision, I mean, she says, as she says, and she puts it very aptly in her bio, she paints women, and she's making great strides in the beauty industry. She's landed a number of celebrity clients that she can tell you all about. She's done magazine features. She's a content creator. You name it, and she's done it in the field of makeup artistry. And what makes her story even more beautiful? Sorry to be have the pun there. Beauty, beautiful beauty, is that she's encountered a number of challenges in her life, and she's agreed to share them here on this platform so that others may possibly, and we hope, will be inspired, and so that we can find truth and value in her story. So welcome, Chanel. We're having a bit of technical difficulties because I cannot hear you. I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was mute.
Wonderful.
Good evening. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you so much, Akima, for making me sound way more decorated than I probably am.
And we will not be entertaining any false modesty. You are decorated. You have achieved success on your own terms, and you are worthy of your seat at the table. And it's time to take up space in a big way. So I won't let you be modest about it.
Okay, I should know better, right? After you talk. But in the spirit of showing up and taking space, thank you. I am a decorated makeup artist. Like you said, I think I've earned that right. I have been a makeup artist for the past 9 years. And I like to say that the beauty industry kind of chose me, because if you told me that when I was migrating here, or you told my mother, when I was migrating here that I'd be doing makeup, it just seemed so far-fetched. Especially as a little girl, not even thinking I was beautiful or knowing the worth of my beauty and the power in my beauty. I didn't think this is where I would be, but God designs and divine things so purposefully that the beauty industry was a space that I needed. I needed so desperately because of my self-identity, my self-worth, and all those other scope of things that women need in their essence to come into their being. And so the beauty industry really did choose me at a time where I was undocumented in this country and just searching for grounding and sisterhood and support and a light at the end of the tunnel. We're all here from the Caribbean, and we know what it's like, the undocumented immigrant story. And I did not want to be that story. And so I decided to take my life back in a lot of ways, and my identity back by jumping into the beauty industry. And it just so happened that, like I said, God designed it in a way where doors just kept on opening up and the stars just kept on aligning. And I'm here 9 years later, and I cannot imagine it any other way.
Wonderful. And so I'll just probably, for those who haven't had followed your story, you grew up in Victoria. So if you can just tell us a little bit about that. And what are some of the ideas or the preconceptions? And one of the things I always say is that our parents always seem to say, oh, you must become a lawyer, you must become a doctor, you must become a teacher. There's never any real push towards creative roots. If you told someone I wanted to go into makeup, I think when we grew up 25 years ago, they would look at you as if, well, what is that? Is this, what is that a profession? And we've seen now the explosion of beauty. So tell us a little bit about your journey from Grenada. And something you said that struck me was that you never thought you were beautiful. I always thought you were beautiful. Um, so tell us, how is it that you managed to overcome those self-limiting beliefs and to really forge a path for yourself in the United States?
I mean, in the spirit of full transparency, there's still a part of that little girl that's healing. And I think so many women can identify with that. But as far as my upbringing, I shoot straight, but I would like to honor my upbringing because I believe that it was the nurturing of the Grenadian soil and the Grenadian values that kept me grounded in this country when I felt like I didn't have a foundation in family and support. And so I credit my upbringing for really nurturing value, nurturing faith, because faith was needed in order to get through these past 10 years. Um, but as a child, I grew up in a household where, no, I was not told I was beautiful. And so sometimes when I show up in the beauty space, there's some type of imposter syndrome that shows up with me because my beauty journey doesn't sound like the other person. But I've learned to embrace that story because it's that story that has gotten me here. And so I grew up in a house where, a house full of women. I didn't think I was beautiful because one, beauty was seen as such a vain thing. And then when you're told that you're ugly every day, I mean, you start believing it, right? And so I grew up being told that I was ugly and being told that I wasn't good enough or that I wasn't wanted or accepted. And so I grew up with insecurities. And then when I came here and I was transplanted to a place that was so big and so vast and there's beauty all around you and you don't know yourself, it becomes very dangerous. So I credit the beauty industry for really saving me in that way because it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of worthiness. And one thing that I also credit the beauty industry for doing because of those childhood traumas was healing my relationship with women, because I just thought I thought women broke each other down. I thought women criticized each other and judged each other. And so the beauty industry and being in such close proximity to women in vulnerable spaces and seeing women celebrate each other in these vulnerable spaces really allowed me to trust and be trusted in sisterhood and community.
And tell us about the sisterhood that you formed. What about the sisterhood that you formed right now in New York? Tell us a bit about that and your beauty journey there, because I think sometimes we can, as it's Women's Day especially, because I see on your page, other makeup artists uplifting you and holding you in their spaces. Have you found that to be a major factor in your success?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for women holding me up, supporting me, celebrating me, calling my name in spaces where I'm absent, um, validating my worth. I don't know where I would be without women, Black women. And like I said, this space really allowed me to see women in a light that was so divine and so worthy and purposed. So many women in this industry. And a part of my story that I don't like to leave out is that faith and and the might of God when He makes promises on your life. I was undocumented up until 2017, and so I like to make it a point to say that all of these spaces that I ended up in and working with these women and being celebrated and accredited in publications, all of that came when I was undocumented. And so I have to give credit to God and faith and really believing that God had something greater in store for me. And it was those women who stepped into my life like angels and with messages and support and love that I needed to keep me going.
Yeah, and that's really amazing. I think there's power in sisterhood, and one of my personal affirmations is always to uplift another sister. I always try to, you don't draw up the drawbridge behind you. You always seek to make sure that someone else is climbing up, and that's something lots of women have opened spaces for me, and I try to do the same. But in doing so, maybe let's go back a bit to what are some of the stigmas you think that you've had to leave behind? And if you were talking to your younger self and you were having a conversation around beauty, what would you say to a young person who's coming up? What are some of the stigmas that you would leave behind, or tell someone to disabuse yourself of this because it's self-limiting? What is the advice that you would give?
I mean, I like to think about it in an aspect of our God consciousness, right? When we think about our image and our beauty and how we see ourselves, the scripture tells us that we were created in the beauty and likeness of God. That means that when I stand in the mirror, I should see a manifestation of God, right? And so if I'm told to get out of the mirror and this is vain and this is all those stories that we hear, and I get in front of the mirror and I don't like who I see and I criticize who I see and I judge who I see, I'm innately judging and criticizing the manifestation of God. And so I like to go back to who we see ourselves as in the image of God. And once you've tapped into that, I believe that the journey to beauty becomes a little easier because there's a knowing and an understanding about who you are and whose you are and the image in which you were created. And it definitely shifts the perspective. So if I was talking to little me, I would empower her the same way I empower my 12-year-old, because I do believe that life is cyclical. And she was given to me to nurture the little girl in me that was not nurtured. And so I affirm her beauty every day, the beauty of her physical beauty, her spiritual beauty, her emotional beauty, the quirks about her, the things that are imperfect about her, because nothing that is whole is perfect. And so I just try to teach her the totality of her being and accepting who she is right now, because at every level in your life, no matter who you think you are, no matter how high valued you think you are, there will be something and someone that challenges your worth. So just believing and knowing who you are, no matter what, is super, super important.
Yeah. Wonderful. And one thing I realized is that you talk a lot about your experience as an undocumented immigrant, and that hits very close to home for a lot of Grenadians. I mean, most of us, if we didn't start off as undocumented, have family members who started off as undocumented and, left the Caribbean sometimes, as teachers, nurses, and, had to do certain jobs to get ahead. How did you manage to make that transition? I think a lot of people would be interested in knowing how you actually made that transition. What was the turning point for you? And how did you choose of all the industries beauty, or how did beauty choose you, as you would say?
Well, first, it was something that I was naturally good at. It was something that I was doing on the side just for fun, just to, flex my creative muscles. But what was the first part again? I
The first part was so when you came as an undocumented immigrant, what was the turning point?
The turning point for me was I had Emma. Emma was about 3 or 4 years old, and I had been at home with her most of the time from birth to 4 years old. So I had branched out into, when she was about 3, getting back into the workforce, doing nanny jobs. I had office jobs, but at that particular time, I was a nanny, and I was paying someone to pick up Emma from school, take her home and watch her, whatever. And I remember coming home one evening and she was changing. Her attitude was changing, her energy was shifting. And I just realized that she was miserable. And I was miserable on the job. I was not respected. I was not appreciated. I was just sick and tired of the instability of being undocumented, the stigmas, the just walking around every day on eggshells, not knowing, not having any autonomy over my day to day. That was just eating me up. And so I decided after I actually got fired from that job. I went into work Monday, I got fired.
What did you do to get fired?
I probably wasn't showing up fully because I was unhappy.
Okay.
I hated being a nanny, honestly, because like I told you guys before, you could feel the racial tension. You can cut it with a knife. And so I really did not enjoy those spaces. I was miserable. And I just decided that I wasn't going to look for another job. And everybody thought I was crazy. What are you doing? Go back home. There's nothing here for you. And even that I was tired of. Like, what? I knew a God so big and so mighty. And I had all this potential. And you're telling me there's nothing here for me. And so I just decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore. And I stuck to it. and I built my clientele, and I worked hard, and I pound the pavement, and I was in everybody's email, every publicist, every manager, everyone that would listen. And that's how I got here.
That's really impressive. Because I think a lot of people think that to start a successful business, you need a lot of capital, you need a lot of money, you need, some backing or some, savior. So it's very impressive. And to all those who are listening, I mean, they might have some questions for you, but what were some of the challenges that you encountered along the way, starting a successful makeup artistry company? And how did you manage to overcome it as, a young Black woman in a metropolis that sometimes swallows people? How did you manage? You have so many followers, you get booked for all these magazines. How did you manage to do it?
It's extremely difficult, extremely, extremely difficult. But I really think that God designs things in a way where it's almost, he always shows up on time, right? And so I was getting all these big opportunities, but I was undocumented. And I knew at a certain point there was only so far that I can go. I wanted to register my business as an incorporation. I knew I couldn't do that. I wanted to work on TV and film sets. I knew I couldn't do that. I wanted to travel for work. I couldn't do that. So there were all these limitations, but I knew I couldn't stop. I knew I couldn't stop. And so it just so happened that in 2017, which was a few months after I stopped rehabilitating after the car accident, and the opportunity came for me to become documented. And I remember just being in awe of God and what he can do. And it just so happened that as soon as that documentation came in, all the opportunities for TV and film started coming in. People were asking for my social security number. I'm like, somebody told you I got one? Like, how did you know? But God, like God just sets things up that way. And I really do believe that when you're intentional, and when you're faithful, and when you're purposeful, that you just start and he does the rest. And that's what's happened for me. I started, and people saw that I was hungry. People saw that I was talented. I took my craft very seriously. So I invested in my education. I invested in learning business. And so when I showed up, people didn't have a choice but to take me seriously, I think. And they didn't know I was undocumented until I said so. And
Wonderful. And we have a question from Zoe. She says it's such an inspiring story. Were there any people who helped you along the way who stand out in your memory?
oh my God, Molly Thomas, who's an amazing accredited makeup artist. I mean, the way this woman trumped for me before she even met me. I remember her just celebrating my work on social media, and then I signed up for a one-on-one class, and weeks before the one-on-one class even happened, she referred me for Black Ink, and things just catapulted from there. And she just, the way she trumps for me in the industry, also behind the scenes, I'll always call her name. So Molly Thomas, for sure. There's this executive at L'Oreal, Wendy Bonsu, who is amazing and is doing amazing work behind the scenes for Black women and Black representation. So there's just been so many makeup artists who are seasoned in the game, Malika James, Sam Fine, just having the support of all these amazing artists. I think it was hard to not, it was hard to not keep going. It was hard to not, to keep the wheel turning. I felt like I owed so many people, and my mother and my daughter and so many people who believed in me, to just keep pushing.
Wonderful. And there's another question on screen, which actually chimes with a question I had, because it's clear that beauty empowers you, and I wanted to know how you see it as empowering others. And Shola Roberts asks, can you address the younger individuals who may not necessarily be aligned by that older sister circle? How can we create space for them to receive that love, support, and empowerment? What are your suggestions?
Definitely this conversation that we're having here today is very, very important. We didn't have spaces like this growing up. to sit and talk about beauty probably would sound ludicrous to anyone, to our elders growing up. But creating spaces like this, and as much as we're hungry for the access to beauty and beauty products, I think our young girls need empowerment classes. They need empowerment workshops. They need empowerment. They need those things in school. So the conversations that we're having with our nieces, our daughters, our little cousins, we have to start at home, and we have to start where we can. I try my best to, because I believe I'm in a position where I am creating beauty and I'm part of the team that pushes beauty out, and I help shape that perspective. I try in my work to make sure that I speak to young girls and I speak to the essence of women and not just the fluff. But we each have a role to play, and I think this is a great start. I would love for this to expand to the soil where we can come in and do grassroots work with young girls in the schools. So we have to start somewhere. So
Wonderful. And one of the things I find sometimes in Grenada is whether we celebrate beauty too much or too little, and what's the right balance. Because when I was growing up, there were a lot of beauty pageants, and and I question whether that's really a celebration or competition, and whether it's really right to be letting 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds really compete amongst themselves. To be, let's leave beauty pageants aside. So we really want to create I think, a more positive experience of the celebration of beauty. And to me, it's celebrating it in our home, celebrating it, not using self-limiting language like, you're ugly, or, your head big, or your nose wide, and, things like that. And in Grenada, we have a habit of, we give people nicknames based on their physical attributes. It's very, very commonplace. Um, so do you think, and now a very, we seem to have an explosion of makeup artists, makeup artistry, and we'll get to another question that popped up on screen about opportunities in the post-COVID world. We'll probably take that in the panel session when everybody else is on. But do you think we now have the balance right for little girls growing up in Grenada and possibly in the diaspora? What is the right balance? Um, are we overemphasizing the beautiful, the nails, the eyelashes, the eyebrows that I don't have, or is there a happy medium?
there'll always be a happy medium if we get to the virtue of beauty. So I think like I said, the conversations around beauty needs to be different. Pageants are detrimental if little girls have to go home and they don't like what they see in the mirror. So I think we've come a long way, but also because of how accessible things are becoming, can we find a happy medium? I don't know. I just know to do my part, and I know the role that I play in community. Happy medium. I don't know. We just have to be responsible for what we represent, because beauty is everywhere. It's been around way before us. Representation matters. That's what I would say, because you're always going to find in any sector that it's some type of abuse of the power of beauty, because it is a powerful tool if you wield it right. We just have to teach young girls how to wield their beauty in the right way.
Yeah. And what have been some of the highlights of running your own business, and how have you managed to adapt and be nimble in a post-COVID world, where there's not that many events and opportunities for makeup? So tell me first about, I like talking to the positive, and maybe we'll take Charles' question afterwards. How has COVID-19 altered the beauty industry from your point of view as a lucrative business prospect? Because that ties in with my question. So first tell us about the highlights for you, and then you can tell us about how you've adapted to COVID and whether you think that beauty remains lucrative.
As a highlight for me, one really special highlight was last year. Black History Month, being picked by Apple to host a panel on beauty. Apple featured Black creatives last year from all different sectors for Black History Month, and I was honored to represent the beauty industry together with Emma. I started a wellness and empowerment brand for Emma 2 years ago. COVID kind of snowballed plans to launch, but that's a highlight for me, being able to stand on a platform like Apple's and talk about beauty, and seeing my daughter standing right there being empowered, and just for her to see that type of possibility for herself, that was definitely a highlight for me. Another highlight is always just the feedback that I get from women. I know women don't come to me for makeup anymore. And so that's why when you hear me talk about beauty, you would probably almost never hear me talk about products, because women come to me for something else. And so I don't take that very lightly. So yeah, that's
Tell
me.
us more about that. Why do they come to you? Do they come to say, expand on that? Do they come and say, Chanel, I'm in your chair, just make me a new version of myself, or make me someone else?
I mean, and I would be remiss to think that I'm the only beauty professional that women come to for more than our services, because when you service women in that space, in that very vulnerable space, it's hard not to connect on a deeper level, I think, when you're really intentionally serving. And so women come to me for therapy in a lot of ways. There are women who come to me when they have absolutely no event to go to. For example, I have one client. She's an ER doctor, and she has her day off is Thursdays, and she doesn't go anywhere really. She probably goes shopping, grocery shopping, just time to herself. And on Thursdays, she gets her makeup done, because that is her time to zen out and just relax. Women tell me they come here just for that, because they are going through so much, and they know that time with me feels so sacred. There's work that I do with my clients. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. So I work with my clients a lot with energy healing. Just the connection that I have with my clients is just indescribable. Just yesterday, I found out that one of my clients passed away in 2020, and it really, really, really shook my world, and I'm still trying to process it. But I value my clients in a way that they probably don't even know. But yeah, clients come to me for therapy and healing.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to look at it, because whenever I'm in a chair, having a beauty procedure done, or having a treatment, you go there because you feel that you need rejuvenating, you need your cup filled, you need a little something something, and it's often more than the physical.
Yeah.
So maybe a couple final questions for you. So one of the things is, how does Grenada feature in your work and in your plans? Do you have plans to do more in Grenada? I know you touched on, young girls and empowerment and Emma. How does it feature, and how do you think we can connect across the diaspora to celebrate the work you do and to do more of the work that you do? Do you see retreats? Do you see um, anything like that in the future?
Absolutely. I think I'm still laying the groundwork, but I would absolutely love to do that. In 2019, I led a workshop for Black women in Cuba, and Cuba felt so much like home. Everything about Cuba felt so much like home that I cannot wait for the day when I can bring something like that to Grenada, where we connect for a weekend, and we empower each other, and we educate girls on skincare products and their beauty, and all that good stuff. So I would love to do things like that. I think we do need a beauty school in Grenada at a tertiary level, even if we have to implant it in high schools. I think that'll be amazing. I think at the age of 10 to 15, if we can grab 10 to 16, if we can grab those young girls at that age when they're going through their self-identity crises and coming into their own. I think workshops with girls that age would be absolutely amazing. So yeah, I would love to come back home. I mean, Grenada is everything to me. That I have a running joke now with with my with our team. I showed up the other day. I flew out with 2 hairstylists, and I was the only makeup artist on the team. And we got into the house, and they were coming to take everyone's suitcases, and they took this one. Okay, that's Janelle's room. This one, that's her room. And then they pulled my bags, and I had Grenada flags all over. I was like, I know who flag that. I know who bags these are. So Grenada goes with me
everywhere. And I feel exactly the same. You know, people always say, "Oh, you live in London." I said in my head, I'm still in Grenada. And I think what you say is so poignant, because when we were growing up, remember after school we used to comb each other's hair, and then we would use this Ambi soap to make our skins, look smooth, when you're going out after school. And I wasn't sorry.
When it was really just dry.
When it was just really dry. Yeah,
Right.
and you were always taught, well, you've been slightly vain by doing that, and it would be great, instead of, to convert that into a positive experience, that our young ladies don't have to feel that, putting your lip gloss on, or, having some sense of pride in your appearance, or wanting to look beautiful or to look pretty, is at odds with, being good at your studies, being serious. And beauty has this stigma even now, um, in professional workplaces. If you put too much emphasis, it's one of those things and dichotomies that women need to maneuver. If you put too much emphasis on beauty, people think there's no substance. If you put too little, then you seem kind of laissez-faire. So
But I say,
angles.
I say embrace your beauty and show up and shock the world, right?
Amazing. So we have with us, we've been talking, we've been chatting, and I could chat with you for a very long time. I love talking to you, and I think this is just the start of a wider conversation that we might have, and I think it'll be great to get everybody connected. But we have waiting in the wings. We have a number of different people. We have Melissa, HD Lady, which I'm very excited to talk to her. And we also have Danielle, Alicia. But before we get on to that, now that we have everybody here, are there any questions from the audience that we'd like to take or pause just to consider? And then I'll introduce the 2 ladies. If we're still waiting, I can go ahead and I'll start with the fabulous HD Lady, the lady that you see in front of the brand that says HD Lady. This is Melissa Jones Gittins. If you are in Grenada, you probably know her very well. I've known her for a very long time. Believe it or not, she used to be my prefect at school, and she kept me in line. Not really. But she has, she's a great friend, and not only that, she's a fantastic businesswoman, and I admire her a lot, not just because of her business prowess, but because of her talent. And she is an entrepreneur extraordinaire. She's an innovator, she's a trendsetter, and what really struck me about Melissa is that where others saw crises by, with COVID, and, people are not going out, there's no graduations, there's no balls, there's, no big events to do makeup at. She was able to build and relaunch her e-commerce store. So if you go onto HD Lady Makeup, she'll give you the details. You're able in Grenada to shop and to buy beauty products online. And that's a big first for Grenada, and it's fantastic. And not only that, on her, am I allowed to say your age? On her 40th birthday, she launched the first Grenadian-owned makeup line. So this lady is unstoppable, HD lady, and it's a line of high-definition makeup, and the quality is on par with all other high-end brands like the Macs and the Fenties of the world. And she also launched during Carnival a makeup competition that was so successful, and it was designed to promote creativity around among young women. So I'm introducing you to Melissa HD Lady. And to my left, we have, and we're representing the reason why we've brought together all of this talent in one place is because, the Grenadian root, the Grenadian tree, it just springs forth and it blooms wherever it's planted. So we have Nellie in New York, we have Melissa back home, and we have Danielle, who's in London, and she is, she started off as a makeup artist, and she's made great strides. She specializes in soft glam. Danny, I encountered her work in magazines, and I contacted her to do my makeup, and I realized that she has a really, really awesome talent. She's been featured in a lot of the top publications in the UK. She's worked at some of the top companies in the UK as a makeup artist, and she's been working and building a very successful business. So welcome, Danielle, and welcome, Melissa. And we continue with Chanel as well. So thank you very much, ladies. And we're going to turn the conversation. First thing is, maybe as a preliminary question, is Women's Day. What makes a woman beautiful in your view? Do you want to start, Melissa?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Akima, I'm just so excited to chat with you. All right, let's talk about beauty. And I think Chanel alluded to the holistic um, view of beauty in terms not just of the physical, but, the mental, spiritual, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think beauty should be seen as not it's beyond the stories that we tell ourselves. There's this old adage that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and we tell ourselves a lot of stories about what makes a woman beautiful in terms of hair type, in terms of skin color, and everything. And we should look beyond, and as Chanel said, think of ourselves as being really unique because we are children of a king. We are children of God. God made us in his own image and likeness, and we should really embrace that and see ourselves as being really unique. So that's beauty for me. I think we should really look at it holistically.
So great. And what about you, Danny? What makes a woman beautiful in your view?
Hi, Uma. Thank you for your compliments and everything you said. And hello to the audience. I think I really discovered, I would say, beauty, especially during first lockdown. So March of 2020 last year. I grew so much confidence within myself. And I think for me, confidence aligns with beauty, especially as a woman. I think so many times and so often we're told, we're doing this for men, or we want to look good to attract a man, or, that kind of thinking. But I think when a woman feels confident within herself to look a certain way for herself, to me, that is so beautiful. And, a lot of the times we look at like content creators who are constantly putting out looks, doing makeup, buying clothes, and doing different looks every day for themselves. I know, some people might have promotions or paid partnerships, but at the end of the day, it's for them. It makes them feel good. So to me, I think confidence and living, just accepting yourself for who you are. I think we're thrown images of idealism or how we should be looking instead of how we actually do look, and just accepting that and living and walking within our truth, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. Chanel, anything you'd like to add?
Am I muted or am I not muted? Okay.
No, you're not.
Beauty. I think why I'm so passionate about beauty, it's because I had absolutely no idea how layered and valuable beauty can be. So beauty to me is just essence. When a woman walks into the room and she can leave her essence behind, her energy, her power, her confidence, her style, how she makes people feel, what people say about her when she leaves the room. You know what I mean? How she loves on children, how she nurtures the people around her. Beauty is essence. Beauty is essence. Beauty is totality. Beauty is mind, body, spirit.
Great. Yeah, and I think these are all truths. And I wanted to ask this question because it's Women's Day, and we want to leave these nuggets behind way after this conversation. And I love listening to your truths. And one of the things I wanted to explore with Melissa, how did you get into beauty? Because you were a teacher, you were a banker, you're still a banker, and you describe it as your side hustle. And Danny, how did you choose beauty as well? Growing up in the diaspora, Grenadian heritage. How did you get into the beauty industry? Does anybody want to go first? Danny, maybe you want to go first and tell us how is it that you decided on a career in beauty?
Sure. So I went to university and I graduated in advertising. And during my course, I had done some voluntary work at I can't remember, it was so many years ago, but I did PR. So I done like press releases and things like that. And I didn't like it. I just knew that I had to do something creative. And I started wearing makeup when I was 16. I'm nearly 29. So I've been wearing it for quite a few years. And it just, the way it made me feel was just something I can't describe. Like, I felt so happy when doing my makeup. Even now, sometimes I could be having a bad day, but once I put my face on, I'm ready to go. So I decided in 2017, with encouragement from friends and my partner, that this is something you need to pursue. Um, I had met my partner in 2015, and the one thing he always used to say to me was, "You're so dedicated." Like I was working at retail. I was literally working on the tills, serving people for like 8-9 hours. But I always had my makeup done. I had my lashes. I had my lip gloss. I always came to deliver. And my friends were like, "Do it, do it, do it. Like, you should start doing makeup for people." So I said, "Okay." I started, and literally I haven't stopped since then. I worked in housing, I worked with homeless people, I worked with people with mental health issues. And I'll be very honest, nothing has given me the fulfillment that makeup has. Um, I think that sometimes learning what your purpose is, and I can really resonate with Nelly as well. Like, my clients are not just people who pay for a service, they've become, like yourself, Akima, friends, and people I've met and people who I've grown to love. So I now see my business as more than just doing makeup. It's a journey. It is a door opener. It has allowed me to not only build my makeup skills, but my skills as a person, like personal skills, communication. Um, yeah, maybe I'm waffling, but yeah,
No,
that was,
you're not. You're not. This is
yeah.
really
In
good.
short,
This
my
is
journey,
gold.
it's a weird one because I never woke up one day and said, yeah, I'm gonna be a makeup artist. I never sat there as a child and said, yeah, this is what I really want to do. It kind of just, I had a hobby and I like people, so I kind of merged the two together. Um, yeah, it's probably one of the best decisions I've made.
And that's powerful,
Yeah.
because you're living you're working in your passion, and lots of people have jobs and they don't work, they're not passionate about it. They get up and they go to work and they abide it. But
Yeah.
And this is something I feel passionately about, to open up those doors, when we're little or when we're kids, tell our children, do something that you're passionate about.
I
Passion is a big driver. And the
Yeah.
fact that you said, you had to go to university and then do advertising and then you realize, and I don't believe there's any shame in that. You learn a lesson from every experience, and even the ones where you think, the ones where you've had to make a little meander, it sometimes helps you to make a better decision. But, a lot of it, can be short circuited. We sometimes go someone used a phrase that I like to use: you live life on maximum difficulty. You do something that you're just not passionate about to satisfy people, you go study something that you don't even care about, or you may not even realize that you don't care about it, just because you think, well, this is a respectable option. But all options are respectable options, particularly the ones that you're passionate about. And I think the more we can get, ourselves believing that really is what we need. And
Yeah.
Melissa, do you want to share how you got into makeup?
Well, my road into makeup was not even on the map. It was not even on the map. I don't even know how I ended up here. I reflected on my years as a teen, and I remember as a teen I had issues with acne. And I remember that, some people would be very mean and they will say things like your face spoiling. And, these things made you feel so uncomfortable. So I developed a relationship with makeup. And in that love relationship, I was a needy partner. And also, as a teen, I recall that my mother used to sew and send out a lot of brides. And I used to volunteer back then to do the bridal makeup. It was not, makeup was not big as now, but still, the little lip gloss, the little lipstick, the eyebrow pencil, a little powder. It was not as big as then, but when I reflect, I think about all of that. I also remember too, as a teen, I wanted to be a dermatologist, maybe because of the issues I had with acne. But then later on in my life, around 2012, a friend approached me and said, I really like how you do your makeup. I mean, she spotted something I didn't see. I obviously didn't realize that stood out. So I did her bridal makeup. And then I told another friend, and I also did her bridal makeup the year after. And then there was this third friend. She told me that she was getting married, and she, well, I showed her what I did for my two friends recently. And she said, but that's the kind of work I'm looking for, the kind of look I was looking for. And I was thinking about somebody, but that person migrated. They went to China and they're not sure when they're coming back. So I don't know. That person was a pretty face lawyer. I think she know who she is.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that's Akima.
For that.
Akima Paul. And Akima, you had a lot of belly. You had some guts to allow me or to honor me, with the role of being your makeup artist on your big day. And I
Oh
feel
no,
very
it was
proud.
an easy decision because back then, I just loved the way you did it, and I think, back then, you put a lot of stock into makeup. But for me, anyway, the wedding day, a lot of people, again, it goes back to what you think, beauty is. And I remember telling you so many things, I want to look like myself. I don't want to look like somebody else. So it's back then, you had, I had full confidence in you, and I still do. And that was the most important thing. As you say, your makeup artist is not just your makeup artist. It's, a confidant, and it's a relationship. And if I have that relationship with you, then of course I'll trust you with my face. I will trust you with my life. So why not my face?
I'm so thankful for you for allowing me, because it was a very key part of my journey. Because since after that, more and more persons came rolling in, and you're someone who who is highly respected back here. And, you know, if Akima Paul allowed her to do her makeup, you know, so, you know, more
Well, I
kindness
wouldn't
kept
say
rolling
that.
in. And I got certified. And, you know, the story goes on. I have a lot of different parts to this story, but I want to
So
say
what
thank
made you,
you.
and what made you decide to launch your own brand of makeup, HD Lady in particular?
Well, shortly after I got certified, I started retail. So I started selling makeup. It was an easy decision because, you know, so many persons would come to you and, you know, they don't know much about makeup. And being an artist, you know, you can recommend things to them. Besides, you know, a lot of the times that supply in Grenada for a lot of the products was very unreliable, and there were not a lot of the things that they needed on island for to do a complete look. So I decided to go into the retail of a full line of makeup, right? But when I started off, I predominantly sold one particular brand, and what made me really start to think was when I got intel that the company was thinking of coming to set up shop here. And I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be the demise of my retail business. So I approached Patricia Bastian, rest in peace. She was a master makeup artist. She was the one who certified myself and some other artists here in Grenada. And I told her what was happening. And she told me that, you know, here's what. This is what you can do. You can start your own line. I'm like, what? Start your own line? I'm green in the business. I'm just starting off. I mean, people wouldn't think I'm credible and they would just not bother with me. So I let it rest for some years. But I still inquired and found out, you know, the cost of starting. And so, I mean, I couldn't start immediately because it was a little hefty. The price was a bit hefty to start off. So I let it rest. I remember Banshisha also telling me, you know, that, you know, you think you have confidence, but you don't. So I thought about all of that, and as Akima said, for my 40th birthday, I said, you know what? Instead of doing photo shoots as what everybody else is doing, I'm gonna let this be my launch for my 40th birthday. So,
Wonderful.
so
And this is incredible. And how has the beauty industry been impacted by COVID? And then we'll get to Zoe's question, which I think is probably one of the most important ones. Maybe let's take that question first. As mothers, what do you think we can do differently to help our girls to feel empowered to pursue creative paths like yours, and not just our girls, our boys as well? I may add. What do you think we can do to encourage creative pursuits in children?
One thing I make a point to do for Emma is uh, have her exposed to possibility and exposed to creativity and nurturing outside of me. And so I make sure that the women that are around me are successful, even more successful than I am. They're walking in their purpose and in their power. I have her spend time with those women often. I show her, and I allow her to see me celebrating those women, because it'll be one thing to just say, "Oh, look, this person's doing that," but if I am not consciously celebrating those women, then I'm not really setting an example. So I just make it a point for her to see possibility outside of me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not the only person doing great things. So I make a point to do that. And another thing is that I don't just tell her to meditate, because she's 12. She doesn't have that discipline. So I meditate with her. I make sure that, like Akima said, the limiting self-beliefs and the self-talk. I'm very careful about how I talk about myself around her. I'm very careful about how she talks about herself to herself. So whenever I catch her, I pull her up. She has affirmations on her mirrors. She knows that she has to get up every day and journal and set intentions. And like I said, she's 12, so she doesn't have that discipline. She wants to do what she wants to do, but I have to hold her accountable and I have to be the example. So those are just some of the things that I do as a mother to make sure that, and because also I'm in the beauty industry, I'm creating a standard. And so she has to see that the standard that I'm setting is a reflection of what I'm teaching her at home.
Wonderful. Danny, anything you wanted to add about how we, you have a son.
Yeah.
Will you be encouraging him to explore his creative side? How do we do that?
Yeah, 100%. I feel it's so important to listen to our children. And that's something I focus heavily on. Even though he's only one, I make sure like the mannerisms in which I talk to him, the words that I use, my tone, my language, children pick up on things. And I would say, for me growing up, my parents were quite supportive. I was always like in clubs, anything I wanted to do I could do. So for example, like drama school, I used to do singing, acting, dancing classes, everything. So I truly believe they poured life into me. They encouraged me. They guided me, but also allowed me to be a child, allowed me to have fun. What I can see from a lot of people from our cultural background, is very stringent sometimes. It's like you said at the beginning, lawyer, doctor, teacher. I think we have to also remember the times in which we're living in. It's 2021. There are so many opportunities out there. There's so many different fields, different jobs. So if your child expresses an interest in something, try and engage and show interest, and just see. You never know what could happen. Children are very clever, and yeah, like let them be creative. It's not every child that's going to be academic. It's not every child that's going to be into maths and science and English. There are other routes, there are other doors that can be opened, and I think we here are living proof of that. And yeah, I think listening, I would say, is such a huge part to just be. I think sometimes as parents, trying to find that balance of parent and friend. You don't want your child to cross the line, but at the same time, you want to be their confidant. You want them to come to you with things. So trying to leave that door open for them to come to you and be that person, like, hey mom, I know you wanted me to probably be a scientist, but I don't really like that. Is it possible if we can look at XYZ? And I think as a parent, that's something that I will be practicing with my son, especially if he shows particular interest in something. I really want to nurture that and let him feel that he's heard and give him a place to be seen.
Fantastic. Someone in the comments said that Grenada is kind of still warming up to makeup. Is that Melissa? You on the ground, and the culture weighs in a lot. I mean, I've seen a relative explosion. I've seen, many people set up makeup studios. I've seen quite a few makeup studios. I've seen more and more people doing products. I've seen microblading. I've seen, quite an investment into the industry. What is the diagnosis on the ground, Melissa? Are there any gaps in the market? Has COVID dampened this development? What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I think we're still warming up culturally. And again, it's the stories we've been told about makeup. It's the influence of male partners in the life of a lot of females. The males tell them, I don't like makeup, don't wear makeup. My son, imagine my son told me that he doesn't want me to wear makeup. Because you think, mommy, you're pretty just the way you are. So we still have to battle with that sort of truths in our culture. But I think the main gap though is education. A lot of people still need to be educated, not just about products, but with respect to application. And not just the clients, customers, but makeup artists. Chanel made the observation that we need a real serious beauty academy here on Ireland. And the artists still need a lot of training, and so we still have this big wide gap that we need to fill. So that is a major gap that needs to be filled. But also in terms of support structures for the arts, I think maybe the government maybe can kick in somewhat to maybe do something to help artists to be recognized. I don't know, maybe awards could help. Maybe making it easier to do business, because I'm in the retail and I could tell you it's really, really hefty, the cost to do business here. To bring in products, I pay 44.9% in duties alone, and I'm not talking shipping and all of that. So you could imagine how this pushes up the cost, the price that you charge. So hence a reason why you will find a lot of retailers probably have to opt for bringing in inferior quality products, because you're thinking to yourself that there isn't a lot of persons with that sort of spending power to purchase and to create that demand that will give you some profitability. So the gaps, as you said, are mainly for me in education and in terms of support structures to facilitate the operation of business here in Grenada.
Yeah, and there's a lot in there. I mean, which I think we could spend a lot of time unpacking. I always say men always say, "Oh, I don't like makeup," but they like women who wear makeup.
True.
They like them on Instagram. Um, they click likes, or sometimes I think they like makeup that doesn't look like makeup. In the and it's it's something that if you unpack it, and again there's a hint of sexism there as well. Men groom themselves, and as a woman you would never say to a man, I don't like men who groom themselves. This is part of our grooming, and the cultural way in which we present ourselves. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of unpacking, a lot of education that should happen. And I think the beauty of this exchange is, and I've been talking about doing this for a long time, it's just the interconnectedness of our experiences. And I think, instead of maybe waiting for an academy, we can probably see, Hey Nelly offering, workshops. We can see, a 5-week pop up um, school happening in summer, funded by an organization, or self-funded, with artists from the UK, from all across the globe. I can see Danny leading a session on soft glam. I can see Chanel leading a session on skill and artistry. So I think there's a lot that that we can do in the meantime, just to close that gap potentially, just by ourselves across the diaspora. And that retreat that Chanel spoke about earlier in the show, there's nothing stopping us from, or stopping you from. And I'm looking at Melissa, because you're the one who has come up with all these brilliant ideas of hosting, some form of retreat, and co-hosting it with Nelly, and with Danny and others in this field.
Yeah, I'm ready to coordinate.
So am I. So am I.
Wonderful.
Same. I think it's so important that we pour back into our culture. Um, I I live in London. I was born in London. My grandparents returned back to Grenada 2004, I think. But I have this burning desire to go home. Like, Grenada is where I see my home. I feel that London is great. It has opportunity, But when it comes to empowering your own and empowering, women who look like you, women who can relate to you, I think I would love to go to Grenada and possibly set something up. I haven't been back since 2018. I was supposed to be at home last year, but COVID restricted my travel. But the amount of women who reached out to me, even when I went into town, when I went to St. George's, they would tap me, "Oh my God, I love your makeup." And I just thought to myself, sometimes, I don't know if this is far-fetched, but I think one of the problems is like things like carnival. It's where, women celebrate being beautiful and being free, but on a normal day, are they allowed to do that? Hence why, if they see women wearing like full makeup on a normal day, it's not seen as the norm. And I really think that we should allow women to express themselves. If it's through makeup, sorry, then it's through makeup. And it would be lovely for them to have like a safe space, a safe space to go and learn and to share their passions with women who share the same passions as them. So yeah, it's definitely something I would love to do.
Wonderful. And do we have any more questions from the audience? So Zoe's asking, if there was one thing you could do to move the dial on the beauty industry in Grenada, what would it be?
It would really be that workshop, that summer workshop, an intensive workshop where we maybe break, the workshop into groups. We target our preteens, which are at that very critical age. Then we have our 20s, 30s, millennials, and then we have older women. Something that I had reached out to Jamani Williams about doing 2 years ago was because I'll tell you why. Because I've met on 2 occasions in 1 month, I came across 2 women, one from Grenada, one from Trinidad. One I just randomly met in a cab. And she asked me what I do. And I told her I'm a makeup artist. And she started telling me her life story about how she left Trinidad working at a makeup counter in the 90s. And she came here with the goals of becoming a beautician, but undocumented and children and life. She's a home health aide. And she asked me if I would give her classes. And I thought it touched me so deeply that I started thinking about ways to host a workshop like that for undocumented women to acquire skill and to explore other opportunities for work in this country while they're undocumented. And so I think opening up that gap, also that age gap, because we kind of throw women to the side as a society when we get into our 50s, 60s. And so I would really like to open up that opportunity for older women who have deferred dreams. Like so many Caribbean women had dreams of being beauticians, but it was not respected. And they did what they had to do to make a means to. And so we have to tap into that age bracket as well.
And we have a question. And what is your take on it, Melissa? What would you change the dial on? And then I'll move to the next comment. But what if you had to change one thing, Grenada?
Well, I must say that after COVID, the COVID experience, a lot of the artists here realized probably they needed to change their business model. And some artists who were full makeup artists just practicing the artistry, what they did was offered classes, one-on-one classes. I think they need to continue doing that. It will change the culture with respect to makeup, the beliefs about makeup, and you hear a lot of people still saying, up to today, a lot of people saying I don't know much about makeup. I get it a lot because people come to me for products, and they come particularly to me because they know I can recommend and advise on how to use. So that education. So as Nelly was saying, education, that is what's going to change the spin on things with respect to makeup here in Grenada. So we need more one-on-one classes. So the artists in the makeup industry, there are many different avenues for making money. Artistry is one, but if the artist can go into the classes, that's another way to make money. And of course, you have retail. Artists can also look to become influencers on Instagram and other social media platforms. So all of these things, would help to change the whole spin of things here in Grenada. You know, so
Wonderful, and I think that's a great suggestion. Um, and we had we probably should be wrapping up in a few minutes. And this has been completely scintillating. It's been a great discussion. But there was a final question, I think, from the audience, where Melissa, you may remember that Patricia divulged that the makeup industry is a multi-billion industry that offers room to endless artists. Perhaps more persons having a love for makeup should consider the spin-off businesses that are possible. People should try to collaborate more instead of looking at things from the standpoint of every man for himself. Perhaps we should see makeup application as closely related to fostering wellness. And this chimes with everything that we've been saying. And what
mhm.
about, just in terms of spin-off businesses, have you seen any pop up in Grenada? And is there scope for more collaboration um, in Grenada and across the diaspora?
Yeah, we definitely need more collaboration. We're stronger together, of course. Because I'm in the makeup industry doesn't mean that we all have to be having the same target audience, for example. You could specialize, for example, in carnival makeup or makeup for more mature skin. You could specialize in natural glam, as Danny is specialized there, or brand yourself on that. We have spin-off business with respect to skincare because they go hand in hand. So I know there's this young entrepreneur. She's having a workshop over the Easter on skin, and she has invited me to do a presentation on makeup. So we have that little collaboration, but we need more collaboration with respect to the industry. We have spin-offs too with photography. The
Mm-hmm.
photographers and videographers, that's another spin-off because we're all intertwined into the same industry. After someone gets their makeup done, the next thing is that they want to have it maybe on Facebook for the world to see. So the photographers and so on, they get, jobs with respect to what we do. So there are a lot of spin-offs.
Yeah. And just before we conclude, this has been, so fascinating for me to hear your stories, to share your experiences, to get your perspectives. So I want to ask one thing. What do you see for your future in this industry? What is coming up? What should we be looking forward to in the next few months? And I know it's difficult because of COVID. Um, Danny, do you want to add something? Tell me, what are your
So I'll
plans?
keep it very brief. I am just working hard to be consistent. I am manifesting brand campaigns. Hopefully, that is something that I'm really interested in. Um, just brands that I love, brands that I love to use, brands that I spend a lot of money on. I'd love to maybe create some content for them. So, like, I've been using this quarantine and lockdown to collaborate with some further creatives here in London. So, teaming up with photographers just to get some really polished looks out there. So, fingers crossed, I can get some campaigns, some brand deals. That is something that I'm going to work really hard on achieving. I'm probably going to give myself till June, so fingers crossed I can get there. Thank you.
I'm sure you will. How about you, Nelly?
Well, right now, I think as a creative, we're all in the midst of pivoting and restructuring what our businesses look like. For me, I know that I just have to keep creating consistently. I can plan all I want, but I think COVID showed us that we plan and God laughs. And so right now I'm trying to hold myself disciplined to just creating consistently. I have my eyes set on more brand partnerships. I have my eyes set on destination weddings because brides are getting a little bit more comfortable with booking. Um, People ask me all the time, are you going to do a makeup line? And I sometimes feel bad because that's not a goal. But why I do believe God has planted me here, like I said before, is to connect with women on a really deeper level and to use this beauty thing as an empowerment and healing tool. And so I am constantly nurturing my spiritual gifts. I offer Reiki healing. Um, and as far as where I belong in the beauty space, I really do believe that God has called me to do healing work on an energetic and spiritual level. If I do ever have a line, it'll be something along the lines of products that you can use holistically and for wellness and meditation, things like that. I am working on an eyewear line. That's my focus right now. It's an eyewear line inspired by the third eye chakra. And so right now I'm just pounding the pavement, trying to find the best manufacturer. This is one of the wear that I'm testing. So I'm focused on that. I started a live conversation featuring dynamic Black women called Beauty for Ashes during quarantine. And we're coming back with that at the end of the month. Hopefully we can launch as a podcast. That's the goal. But the conversations has been so powerful and dynamic, and it focuses on, like I said, beauty and the totality of it. And we've heard some amazing stories from Black women who have triumphed through the most difficult of hardships and found a way to find beauty in their ashes. And so those are the things that I'm working on. I really want to continue to carve out my niche in the industry, which is using beauty as a healing and empowerment tool.
And how fitting. I mean, I think, this is so deserving, and you are, given everything that you've been through, what a more fitting tribute to your story than to, continue on that journey and to bring others with you. And Melissa, you have the final word.
Okay, well, at this time, I'm currently working on capacity building. As an artist, I realized that you can't just, just stick to just the art, but you also have other skill sets you need to add on and to couple up so that you will be, at maximum capacity, including things like digital marketing and so on. I'm also working on things like process improvements. There's a lot of tightening of things that I need to do, business wise in terms of accounting and other things like that. So I'm working on that as well. But ultimately, I think the next move will be to try to get HD Lady Line of Makeup Global.
Wonderful. And I'm sure you can do just that. And we love your ambition. And I think with a network like this one, it won't be too difficult to do that. And this is the reason why Grenada Creates exists, to connect all of you across the diaspora. Hopefully, you can get your products in the hands of these lovely ladies and their allies. And this is how, we build brands, and this is how we build empire. But
So your
I just
website.
I just want to thank all of you for coming on to this program today, just to share all these nuggets of wisdom. Thank you, Chanel, for your story. It will stay with me for a long time. It will continue to inspire me. Thank you, Danny, for telling us, about your journey, and how is it that you managed to get into this field, and it will inspire a lot of young women. Thank you, Melissa, for everything really. I think your success in the retail industry and your efforts, they're just it's again so inspiring. So thank you. I don't know if Zoe wants to come on just to say thanks. Zoe is the brainchild behind Grenada Creates. So I'll just let her say what next might be in store and coming up.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. That was amazing. And while I may be one of the brain mothers behind Grenada Creates, this event was definitely Nellie's ideation, and I just think it's come through so beautifully, that aspect of combining beauty with wellness as well as a sort of professional angle. I think you've just inspired so many people, and yeah, I'm sure this conversation will be shared widely. And to everyone, Melissa, Danny, Akima, thank you massively. Thank you also massively to Neil, who's been working his magic in the background, and he was really instrumental in bringing all these amazing women together. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone, really. Definitely stay tuned to Grenada Creates. Our next event is on the 4th of April, where we'll be looking at the intersections of the creative industry and technology. So something that's really relevant in sort of mid-COVID times, with everyone having to adapt and pivot to operating in digital spaces. There's some amazing Grenadians who are out there. So we really just want to get that conversation started and look at how we can start collaborating across the diaspora and on the island as well. But yeah, once again, thank you all very, very much. You were amazing. And we look forward to this conversation just being the start of many, and also the prelude to Nellie's workshop in Grenada that I will definitely be signing up for myself. So yeah, look
So
forward
will
to it.
I. So will I.
Excellent. Let's make it happen. Let's get a date in the diary.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, ladies. And thank you to our audience as well. Please share, tag friends who need to watch this conversation, because I think it's really, really important. And that's it. Happy Women's Day, everyone.
Thank
Before
you.
we our website, before we go, Melissa, your website.
Oh, my website, www.hd, as in high definition, ladymakeup.com.
Okay.
Wonderful.
hdladymakeup.com.
Okay.
Great. So there we have it. We'll all be wearing HD Lady makeup at the
Maybe I can
Wellness
show you
Workshop.
one of the
Wonderful.
products.
Yeah.
I
Come on.
can buy your Williams, right?
Yeah. That looks
Yes.
good.
It's really good, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Before we
Yeah.
go, I just want to say a double thank you to Akima for hosting this so beautifully. Not only is she a working mother, she has like an 11-week-old baby. So Akima, you've done spectacularly well. I owe you huge
She's
gratitude.
sleeping, thank the Lord.
Thank you. But yeah, to see these so many women together, and Akima, yeah, you just led this beautifully. So thank you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. You guys made it easy. As a beauty outsider, and I think a lot of people watching, we are all beauty outsiders. We don't have the skill. We don't, I love looking good, and it's just great to know what is in your mind, and how you've managed to build your businesses, and it's just fantastic and inspiring.
You did a wonderful job hosting today.
Neil, you should pop up on screen
Thank you to all.
and sign us out if you're still there.
I was actually trying not to, but what's up, people? Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I was just kind of working the boards in the background, and that's all I need to say. Great job, ladies. All right.
Are we still on? Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great job.